We're going to go ahead and get started. So the first thing when I started working with Marco is he was hard to catch. I couldn't catch him. So I said, okay, we're going to get through this. So I put him in a round pen just like this one, maybe a little bit smaller. And the first thing I asked him to do is ask him to go to the left in the round pen. And when he started going to the left, then I would stop. And what Marco needed to do was keep going to the left in the round pen. And he needed to go to the left consistently. No, keep going. And he needed to go to the left consistently, like he is doing right now. I'll go out to catch a horse out of the pasture, and he's running from me. His tail is cocked, his head is cocked, and he's looking back at me, laughing at me, saying, "Catch me if you can." I said, "Fine, as soon as I do catch you, we're going to go to the round pen, and I'm going to show you what the round pen means." You know, if you got that much energy to move around like that, great, we're just going to put it all inside the round pen. Good boy. So we'll do another inside turn here. Inside, and go back the other direction. So eventually, what Marco ended up doing is I could kiss to him and he'll come to me. Good, right there. Come on. Good boy. And that was good, so I'll tell him he's a good boy. And then what I do is I'll send him off again. Have him go back around to the left. And then eventually what we taught him was to go all the way around me and line up. Now I can put a halter on him, or a bridle, or the blanket, or the saddle, or whatever I wanted to do with him. So go ahead and leave. Good boy. A little bit faster. There you go. Good boy, Marco. She's asked me to dance. Now her hands in good, and line up. Good boy, good boy. And then after he started lining up, then we went into teaching him how to lead. You know, if I started backing up, Marco needs to back up with me. If I go forward, he needs to go forward. If I turn into him, he needs to turn away from me. And if I turn away from him, he needs to go all the way around me and line up. Good boy. The way I taught him how to lead like that is I started off with backing up. And we were standing here and I kind of put some pressure on him. And when he started backing up, then I'd stop, and pretty soon I'd ask for more than one step, and I'd get 2 steps, and I'd get 5 steps, and 10 steps, and pretty soon, you know, I'd just start backing up, and he just keeps backing up with me. Good boy. Good. Good boy. Then after we taught him how to back up, we also drew an imaginary line right here in front of our boots, and he's never to cross that line. You know, no matter what I do, he's never to cross. Come on, hurry up. He's never to ever cross that line, and that'll stop your horses from dragging you off at the end of the lead rope. You're telling the horse, don't run over the top of me, don't spook into me, all those types of things. Because he knows when I walk into him, you know, he's to give way. Good boy, Marco. And when I go around this way, he's to come around me. Good boy. Good, and we're going to be doing all this type of stuff with the next horse that's going to be coming in here in a little bit. So back up, Marco. Good boy. And forward. Hurry up. And back up, Marco. Good boy. And back up, Marco. So I'll sit here and trick him. And I'll just start going forward. And then I'll stop, and immediately as I start backing up, stay this way. All right, we're going to go on to bridling. So let me grab my bridle. Come on, Marco. Come on. Good boy. Good boy. Come on. You know, when I got Marco, you know, he's only 6 months old, so he didn't know very much. And he was a little nippy. He was, you know, little jumpy and scared about different things that came his way. But he got over it, and he's done real well. When it comes to bridling, I refuse to stand on any bucket, any step, just to put a bridle in my horse's mouth. You know, some horses throw their heads way up here, and I refuse to go up here and try to put the bridle in his mouth. I want his head about where it is right now. And I started teaching him it by whenever I put my hands on his head, he'd start lowering his head. And I didn't, bring your head back up, good boy. I didn't, good boy. He knows what he's supposed to do. He knows. So when I started with him, I just put my hands on here. I wouldn't try to push his head down at all. I just rest my hands on his head, and as soon as those ears dropped and his head came towards me, I'd take the pressure away. Now it's always the pressure that asks our horses to do the things we want them to do. And it's always the release that tells the horse that they actually got the right answer. Without the pressure, the horse is never gonna do the things we want them to do, and without the release, the horse will never know they got the answer right and did a good job. So if there's not a release, the horse will just become confused and not understand what we're wanting him to do. So we started with this, and he started putting his head down really nicely. The same thing goes with haltering. I'll do halter horses the same way. Put his head down. If he keeps his head there, then tell him he's a good boy. If he brings it back up, I'm gonna ask him to put it back down. You know, this is where I want his head when I put a bridle and halter on him. And one of the next things I did is I made sure he was comfortable with my hands around his mouth. Make sure he wasn't, you know, biting or anything. Marco only got nailed one time real hard for biting me, and after that he never bit me again. And biting is the only time. So I'll play with his muzzle here a little bit, play with his nose. Good, and once they're comfortable with this, and I'll start putting my finger in their mouth. Good. And that's what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to open his mouth and tell him he's a good boy. I'll do it again. Now some horses throw their heads up, and you'll see this with the next horse we're bringing in. This horse is going to be throwing his head up. What I do is I'll just stick with it until he brings his head down, or keep my finger in there as much as I can until he brings his head down without getting bit. If you think you're going to get bit, don't do it. Good. And every time this darn thing goes in my mouth or out of my mouth, I'm getting hurt doing it. Good boy. Come here. So you can sit here and, all right. You can sit here and practice this for a while until your horse gets really comfortable with accepting the rope going in his mouth. It's no different than the bridle. Good. Hold it here, then take it out. He has to keep his head down while it's coming out of his mouth. Good. And that way we don't bang his teeth. Then when it does come to the bridle, good boy, Marco. What I do is I'll hold the bridle right here. Hold the bridle right here and slowly bring it up. I'll get the bit ready for him. I'll lift up his lip, open his mouth. I'll slide it in with this hand up top. Then I'll go over this ear, then this ear, then the bridle is in. Good boy. All right.